Good evening and welcome to Angels, Fairies, and Witches. I'm your host, Michele. It's what you've all been waiting for. It's the Halloween episode, and here I am in the cemetery. Such a cliche. Actually, I'm in the All Faith Cemetery in Queens off Metropolitan Avenue. It was erected in 1851. It's probably the oldest cemetery here in Queens. Now, why am I in the cemetery on Halloween? I've spoken about this before, but I really need to hammer this home to all of you faithful viewers out there, okay? When you've lost a loved one and you want to go to the cemetery and you want to plant flowers and you want to tend to the grave, if that makes you feel good, if that brings peace, then by all means do it. But here's the 100% truth. They're not there. You ever wonder why a cemetery is so peaceful? Oh, church bells. That's a nice touch. Anyway, why the cemetery is so peaceful? Because they're not here. Okay, your loved ones are sitting next to you at the dining room table. They're in the car with you when you're driving to work. They're holding your hand at the doctor's office when you're about to have some scary procedure. They are always around you and they love you. This is the place of their body's burial. See, I'm trying to also concentrate and watch as the cars go by because I'm not exactly sure this is legal, but I mean this with great respect. That's why I'm sitting in the cemetery to tell you that this is not the place that you need to go to mourn your loved ones. They are always around you. They may come to you in the form of dreams. They may come to you with flickering lights. You may feel a soft touch as you fall asleep. Perhaps they're calling your name. They're usually very big on coming around birthdays, holidays, the anniversary of when they died. And the thing you really have to do to meet them halfway is to pay attention to their signs. This is not like an episode of Ghost Whisperer, hate that show, where here's the dead sitting right next to me, all sorts of three-dimensional, and we're having conversation. It doesn't work like that. You see them out of the corner of your eye. You hear a favorite song just at the minute you need to hear it. You hear some random stranger say your loved one's first name. These are how they communicate. And the more in tune you get with them, the easier it is to communicate with them. I mentioned on one of the last episodes about conjuring and seances and things like that. Bad idea, bad idea. Let them rest in peace. I talk to my deceased father almost every single day. It's not the same thing, okay? You can speak to the dead. You can have conversation with them. You can pour your heart out to them. There's a variety of things that you can do. What happens every single Halloween, not in this cemetery, but in, I think it's St. Mary's, where Harry Houdini was buried many years ago, there's always some fools going in the cemetery on Halloween at midnight to try to do a seance to bring him back from the dead. Leave the guy alone. First of all, he's never made an appearance, and I highly doubt he's going to. A bunch of stoned teenagers is probably not what he would want to encounter when he first comes back from the dead. And as far as things like Ouija boards, this is it's a divination tool. It's a way to access the other side. But again, you must do it with pure intent and the utmost of respect and dignity. When my producer and I came to the cemetery today, again, not really sure we're supposed to be in here. So what I did, and we'll see how strong my powers really are, I put a cloak of invisibility over us. Basically what I did is I spoke to some angels. You see these gravestones. They are so old. This one is 1887, and that's probably one of the newer ones here. So I expressed my wishes to the deceased that are right here, to my deceased family members. I invoked certain angels, and I asked for just a cloak of protection for 28 minutes so I can do this show out of respect. Because people are so weird about death. And I know there's all these different cultures and different beliefs. Certain people believe you only come back one time and this is it. Other faiths believe in reincarnation, that you keep coming back until you have evolved to the point of almost spiritual perfection. An example of that would be there was a Padre Pio, Mother Teresa of Calcutta. There's a lot of good people out there. Who else? Michele, no. I'm getting there. So some of the viewers have been calling, and I really appreciate the phone calls. You may also notice that Laura has not been here for the last couple of episodes. She'll be back. Reason being, as we entered into the month of October, this is really more my specialty with all the witchcraft. On Halloween, which is actually called, it's written like it's Sam Hain, but it's pronounced like it's Samhain. Try as I might, nobody's catching on and calling it Samhain. So for all intents and purpose, Halloween. This has been suggested that when the veil between the two worlds, the living and the deceased, are the thinnest. Here's some different cultural things that'll happen this evening. Kids will put on costumes, they'll trick or treat. You might see lanterns, pumpkins with candles inside. Back in the day, people had a lot of misconceptions about the deceased. And they weren't exactly so open-minded. So what happened is that on All Hallows Eve, or Samhain, big balefires would be lit to keep the evil spirits away. People would put on costumes so that if there were evil spirits around, they wouldn't know it's them. They would see a person in costume, and somehow, even though they're dead, they wouldn't know who that person is. As the culture evolved and people became a little savvier to the deceased and realized that they don't mean any ill will, jack-o'-lanterns, pumpkins would be carved out and candles would be put in. Why? They were thinking that when spirits walk the earth, of course their belief was it's just this one night, but they're lighting their way so that wandering or lost spirits can help find their way wherever they were going. The trick-or-treat thing actually came about in the 1930s, and that was just something to add a little bit of fun to what used to be a spooky holiday, but what should really be a revered holiday. So, what else do I want to tell you about the cemetery and Halloween? In a little while, I'm going to show you something. The point I want to make is that the cemetery is a place of peace, and you can come here even if you don't know anybody in a particular cemetery, just to be at peace with nature and to meditate. But again, respect, respect, respect. When my boys were little, I used to actually take them to the cemetery because it was the cleanest place, better than any city park. But again, they weren't climbing on things. It was all very respectful. Lost my train of thought. Coming to the cemetery, Halloween. Maybe I should. Oh, okay. Got it. Again, it's a great place to come and meditate. There's always so much nature around, and you can hug trees. I don't know if you can hear the birds, but there's some blue jays flying around. It's usually very well maintained, and there's absolutely nothing that's creepy in a cemetery, except for this one tombstone, which I'll show you at the end of the program. Super creepy, gotta be honest with you. Okay, so, now, the whole fall season, but especially around Halloween, has been known as the season of the witch. Okay, and there's look at this, still mosquitoes this time of year. Oh, they love me. Power of the witch, or season of the witch, there's a certain incantation or prayer, you might say, that witches recite throughout the months of September, October, and November. And what it really boils down to is the idea of, in everyday life, think like a witch. Now, some of you that have called have asked me, what is my normal day-to-day life? And I'll be honest with you, it's probably very similar to yours. I have children that have to get up for school, and never willingly. I have a job. I'm a recreation director in a nursing home. I know, really hard to imagine, right? I have friends, I have family, I date sometimes. And then on top of it, I do tarot card readings, I create spells and potions for people, and I'm always available if anybody needs me. So really, my day-to-day life is not that different. Where it may differ from yours is that every single thing I do, I try to use the power of the witch, which is a little bit of a tongue twister. Speaking of tongue twister, can any of you do this? Curling your tongue? I know, I just thought it's something everybody can do, but not everyone can. Anyway, power of the witch. I try to bring magic into every part of my day. For example, when I have a morning cup of coffee, or occasionally green tea if I'm, trying to feel healthy or most likely detox from the night before, I don't just pour the milk and put the angel sugar and drink it. I incant over it. And a lot of you out there pray over your food or your drink. Sometimes it's just a matter of saying thank you before you eat anything. So what would I be incanting? I know this coffee is going to go into my body, and what is it I want it to do? I want it to wake me up. I want it to energize me. I wanted it to maybe get my creative juices flowing. So I take a second, just a second, and I incant over it. And then, of course, I drink it. When I am driving to work, if there's traffic, and there always is on the Van Wyck, in both directions, Grand Central as well, or if I'm on a long line at the supermarket, I use that time wisely. I use that time to think about what it is that I want to accomplish. Okay, the idea behind the power of the witch is that in order to think like a witch, any problem that life hands you, think outside the box of how it can be solved. If there's a situation in your life and you don't like where it's going, you don't like your job, you don't like your spouse, your kids are acting up, you need money, instead of griping about it, think of an alternate way out of the situation. Okay? If you have kids, and mine are teenagers, and oh, those are some special years, let me tell you. And if they start getting a little fresh with the mouth, picture, and you really have to get very good at this. We've talked about this before, creative visualization. You really have to get a clear picture of you and your children laughing and going to a movie together and having fun, and they're sharing with you. And be careful what you wish, because I've always wanted my kids to share with me everything, and then they start telling you stuff and it blows your mind. So I would still probably rather have it that way, but than not knowing. You can creatively get yourself out of any problem, and moreover, you can bring into your life the things that you want. Money. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't need that, right? So picture, and again, I've said this before, but it bears repeating, because actually, Halloween, Samhain, Halloween, is the witch's new year. So this is my new year. This is a fresh start. Tomorrow is going to be, well, okay, it's still going to be November, but if you look at it like a new year, what do you do on New Year's Eve? You make resolutions. What are resolutions? Things you want to accomplish. Okay, so what do I want to accomplish? As an example, maybe making a little bit more money, or taking a fabulous trip somewhere, or anything. If you put it into your intention, if you can really get a clear picture of it, okay, if it's money that you want, think about, don't ask how much, don't ask how it's going to get to you, don't say, oh, but it's impossible. Let the universe take care of all that. Just know that you're a good person, you're worthy of receiving this money. For you to receive this money is not going to take away from somebody else. There's an ocean of abundance. That's the joy of the universe. And then think, what would you do? Well, would you get a new car, or maybe just a better car? Would you travel a little bit? Would you donate a significant amount to a good charity that you like? And picture how good it would feel to be doing all of those things. Okay? Another issue, of course, is health. I know Laura and I have a lot of other books on the subject. This is just one that she and I like, so it doesn't have to become your Bible. Thought she was a little too preachy on that episode, and now that she's seeing me say this, heads are going to roll, as usual. But it's a book that she and I really like, and it's Louise Hay, Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And it's phenomenal because she lists in the back, you have to kind of really read the whole book, and then at the back she lists every every illness you can think of. And not even just an illness, bunion on the toe, acne, thinning hair, everything from that to cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it, it's in there. And so what she does is she takes the physical ailment, she boils it down to the root problem. Like, for example, high blood pressure, of which I used to be a sufferer, is the result of a lot of anger. I know you probably find that very shocking, right? Me, angry, never. But it's true. I had a lot of things happening, and I was getting so angry. And so, of course, what does that do to your body? It brings your blood pressure through the roof. And I had tried medication for a while, but I really believe that you can heal yourself. And I'm not trying to put doctors out of business when I say this, although maybe in a subconscious way I am. But you can heal yourself. It's when you've gotten to the point that there's been a physical manifestation of illness in your body. Getting a little chilly out here. Hope y'all don't mind if I... Ooh. Witch in a cemetery on Halloween. I know, y'all probably wondering where the broom is. The black cats, as you know, are at home. Also, this could be the energy of the deceased. Their energy is a little bit chilly. Of course, I'm also just sitting here on cold stone, freezing my ass off, so it's probably more that than the deceased. Anyway, in terms of health, when you've gotten to a point that there is a physical manifestation taking place in your body, it means that whatever the problem is, whatever the root is, has been happening for a long time. Okay? With my former high blood pressure, I didn't get angry one day and the next day get the high blood pressure. It was years of it. So how do you correct it? The correction doesn't come overnight. What I would recommend is that if there are any of those, that wasn't really helping much. If there's any of you out there that just take high blood pressure or even diabetes as an example, and I probably should run a little clause that you cannot hold me liable in any way, because really if you want to sue me, all I can give you is a cat. So anyway, if you're on long-term medication, stay with it, stay with the doctor, but also explore this. Take part in meditation. Try to get to the root of the problem. Try to correct it mentally and emotionally. You may find, and this is actually what happened to me, that in getting in touch with my anger and the root of it and learning how there are things I can correct and then correct them, and there's things I can't correct, like other people's behavior, and just letting that go, what happened was my blood pressure started coming down to the point that when I went to the doctor about it, he said, well, you better get off the meds. You certainly don't need them. Your blood pressure's been stable for a long time. That's what I'm trying to say. How else can we honor this very sacred night of Halloween and the deceased? I saw an episode of, I'm a big fan of Little House on the Prairie, and I saw an episode recently. If any of you out there have seen it, you're going to know exactly the one I'm talking about, because it's the worst ever. Every Little House on the Prairie, there had to be some drama, that has Pa crying his eyes out, even though he was such a gorgeous man. Normally I don't like tears in a man, but I'd take Pa any day. No, but this one was so bad. It's the one where Mary's baby dies in the fire in the school, and you see the Jonathan Garvey's wife with the baby breaking through the glass. Why am I talking about this? I really have a point. The episode, which instead of just 1 hour is 2 hours, because then part 2 is where Mary goes crazy. But anyway, and I think it ends up being Albert's fault. He was smoking a pipe, or they probably didn't have bongs back then, or maybe he had eyeglasses on the hay. Back to the point. Parts 1 and 2 are called May We Make Them Proud. Ooh, I'm all... Again, don't know if it's the dead or I'm just... Am I as entertaining and as informative as I think I am? God, I love myself. May we make them proud. If you've suffered from a recent loss or a not so recent loss, something that you have a hard time getting over, I can tell you, first of all, you can call on me. I'd be happy to do mediumship, a tarot card reading, just have conversation, whatever's going to help. Make them proud. Live your life. They want you to move on. They really do. If you've lost a husband, I can guarantee he wants you to find somebody else. When they die, there is no jealousy. There's no hatred. They maintain their same personalities. If they were the life of the party, they're going to still be the life of the party. If they were a quiet sort of bookworm type, that's what they're going to be. They maintain their personalities. But hatred, jealousy, rage, guilt, all of that is gone. As a matter of fact, the only thing I can tell you about the deceased that does carry over, and it's unfortunate, is remorse. If they feel they didn't say I love you enough. And for a lot of people, maybe that's just not their way. Some people are very old school. Men in general tend to not be as forthcoming emotionally as women are. But I'm not going to man bash. So you can go on with your life, absolutely. try to make them proud. Honor their memory. Talk to them like you talk to the living. Maybe even on holidays, set a place for them. Or I know some of you, I had somebody come to me recently who was getting married, and both his parents had died, and he wanted to find a way to honor them. And I'd seen this done before, and I think it's a lovely idea, where he had a picture of his mother, a picture of his father when you walk into the reception hall, and little tea light candles all around. And maybe in the church service, if there was a program, they can add the name to it. Simple stuff like that. Just keep them in your hearts, keep them in your memory, but life goes on. So far, I think the cloak of invisibility is working pretty well here. So I would like to thank all of my wonderful viewers. Thank you for your phone calls. And those of you out there that are watching that haven't called, please feel free if there's anything that I can help you with. I've just met so many wonderful people, and you have all given me such wonderful opportunity that I've really enjoyed these experiences. I would like to take this opportunity to invite other people onto my show. If you are magical, and first of all, we all are, just some of us don't recognize it. But if you are a medium, if you are a tarot card reader, if you are pagan, something a little out of the box, I'd love to have you on as a guest speaker, so you can call. There's the number. I think I had my producer take away the email address because, I'm sorry, I'm just modern nothing. It drives my children crazy, but I can't even turn on a computer. And even though I realize that's the way of modern technology, it's not the witch's way. I write letters. Years and years and years ago, I threw out the microwave, something else the kids hate. I really kind of walk to the beat of my own drum. In terms of this sacred evening of Halloween, here are some rituals that you might find me doing. I won't be having a costume party. Sometimes I gather in a group. Other times I'm basically more of a solitary practitioner. So on this evening I will have my house filled with candles to honor the deceased. I'll also make some special foods that are sacred to this time of year, which is a harvest festival. So I'll make maybe some pumpkin bread, definitely have some red wine going, maybe roast some root vegetables like acorns or squash, that kind of thing. And I'll really spend the evening after the trick-or-treaters have all come and gone, unless I can enlist the help of my kids, but pretty sure I can't. They'll be off doing their own thing anyway. I'll spend a quiet evening in meditation, communicating with the other side, and making my own New Year's resolutions, the things that I want in the coming year. There are a bunch of, I find this very interesting, that there are a bunch of covens, mostly located in Smithtown, Long Island. There's one called Pagans in the Pub. Oh, and there's another one too that's really good. It's a Black Forest, not Black Forest cake. Well, that sounds good right about now. Black Forest Clan, maybe. Those two, excuse me, those two covens, I've gotten to know some of the people, and I know they're very legit in the work that they do, and they don't really allow, they kind of wait until a member leaves, because they always keep it at 13 with the high priestess and then 12 others. Sometimes 12 women, sometimes 6 women, 6 men, but they always keep it at 13. And they do some wonderful healing rituals. That's really the point. They gather together, and with the force of 13, with the power of 13, and all their intents are the same, they keep a running list of people that have asked to pray for them. And so whenever it is that they gather, this is what their intentions go for. If you are ever approached to join a coven, or if you think it sounds like fun, please be very careful, because sometimes it's not just the covens. It's any sort of religious zealot situation where, you know, you've heard the story, sometimes it can almost become cult-like. The point of a coven is that there is the high priestess who's running it, but that everybody has their own individual power. So if you're exploring, what they call subculture, just exercise a little caution, okay? Because the two that I mentioned that are on Long Island are very reputable, very upstanding. Those are the only ones I know, but, we've all heard the stories. So additionally, I may have a few friends over this evening. I will have my friend Miguel over. Miguel is a vampire. I will have my friend Martin over. Martin is a vampire. I will have my friend Ray over. Ray is a werewolf. So how's this looking now? Me and three guys. Liking those odds. Anyway, we've already discussed things like vampires and things like werewolves, and it's the same thing about witches. You know, we've all been sort of vilified and victimized, but we all have our own magical abilities. Vampires are very showy creatures. They think fast, they act faster. They can come into a room and absorb your negative energy, thereby making you feel better, and it energizes them. A werewolf is absolutely the protector of his family and his friends. He might not have a whole lot of friends or be showy, might be more of a homebody, but he is the ultimate in protection. Witches. Oh, let's save witches for the end. Fairies. Fun, flirty, kind, very involved with the environment. And witches, can't have enough of us. Very magical, very knowing, very powerful. So that concludes our episode of Angels, Fairies, and Witches, the Halloween edition. And like I said, here I am in the cemetery. There's absolutely nothing to fear except the super creepy tombstone that I'm about to show you. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a blessed Samhain. For people that believe in reincarnation, that your soul keeps coming back at different times in different bodies. It can also be in a different gender. You could be mostly have been female, and once in a while you come back as male. The point is, why do we keep coming back? Certain religions would have you believe that the soul has to continually evolve until it gets to the place of almost perfection. Others seem to feel like our souls just keep coming back because when we're on the other side, which is our true home, we think these lives that we have now might be fun experiences. I believe it was Sylvia Browne who once wrote in her book that she must have been high or drunk on the other side to come back and agree to this kind of life, and to that end I do agree with her. What happens in past life regression, and I'm going to lead you through an exercise. First of all, there's nothing scary. You can't get stuck in a past life, because that would suck. You can go to a professional regressionist and have it done for you that way, or you could do guided meditation CDs, I guess you call it, or you can actually just do it, what we're going to do this evening, through a series of deep breathing. You have to get yourself into an extremely relaxed state, okay? And hopefully you don't end up falling asleep, which is what I have done when I was first learning how to do this. Why would you want to learn about past life regression? Well, to start with, it would answer a lot of your questions. For example, if you have certain fears, more than fears, like terrors. Let's say you are terrified of drowning, okay? If in this lifetime, in this incarnation, if you have almost drowned, like when you were 10 years old, and so now you're 40 years old and you still fear drowning, that's not past life. That's something that happened this time, so you really, there's no going back for that. But if it's something that you've always been incredibly terrified of, now I'm going to tell you the bad first, then I'm going to tell you the good stuff, okay? That is most likely that the way your life ended in all of these incarnations, and people kind of have come around 40, 50, 60 times even. You know, don't think of it like you every time you were here you had this long life. You know, unfortunately, in cultures way back when, the life expectancy was really very short, with disease and famine and, you know, all kinds of stuff, maybe even being eaten by a dinosaur. So the point of this is when you go back, and I'll show you how to do this. I'll lead you through a meditation. Hopefully you'll all stay awake when we do this. Um, you'll see yourself, okay? And you have to be very open-minded, which is why I want to give all these clauses about how you can't get stuck in a past life, how you're not going to be, when you see your death, it's like you're going to be watching a movie. You're not actually going to be reliving it. You're going to be looking at it very third party. If at any time you want to stop and come out of the regression, excuse me, you just stop and come out of the regression. It's that easy. If the first time when you do it with me this evening, if you don't feel it's been successful, please keep trying. It's very hard to get into this very deeply meditative state, almost to the point you're, well, you're not unconscious, I wouldn't want to say that, but kind of almost in a trance-like. So what happens is when you look at the way that you died, or you see people that you now know in this lifetime that you either love or hate, some very strong reaction, you'll identify with them. Now, if Laura was here with me right now, I would explain that she and I have had many, many past lives together. And that is actually the definition of a soulmate. It's not romantic. I mean, I guess it could be. That would be ideal. But in general, it's the souls that you've known lifetime after lifetime. Sometimes you come together here. Well, you always come together and re-meet each other, and there are a tremendous amount of support and strength and caring for you. Sometimes it's more the opposite, and it's a karmic lesson. If it's somebody that you've had a lot of difficulty with in this lifetime, and you go back to a past life and you see who they were or the situations that happened, or you see how you died, or you see the life you led, once you view that life, the illness that you've taken, because things carry over, okay? The illnesses, fears, worries, good people, bad people, it all carries over. If you can go back and identify it and view it, see it for what it is, when you come out of the regression, the person that you hate so very much, you'll no longer feel that way. The person that you care about so much, you'll now have a better understanding. Oh, because I knew you way back when, and we were siblings. The example I wanted to give about Laura, actually, is that lifetime after lifetime, we've always been, our dynamic has always been sisters for the most part. Her the older sister, me the younger sister. And for those of you out there that know Laura and I, I'm a very aggressive, outgoing, fun, but I'll tell you exactly what I think about you type of person. Whereas every time with Laura, and let's face it, and I know she's going to be watching this episode, she can kind of boss me around, and I allow this. Sounds crazy, right? But when I started going through past lives, I realized that she was always the older sister. The bossy older sister, but the older sister, which is why in this lifetime our dynamic is not all that different. Also, when you go back to your past lives and you see how you might have died naturally or been killed or drowned or whatever, once you view that life and you come back to out of the regression, that fear will be gone. Whatever it is you fear, the dark, the lightning, drowning, anything. Once you touch upon that, I'll give you another example. For me, I know the way I dress is, well, a little flamboyant, but that's a witch thing. If you've noticed on all these episodes, nothing is ever around my neck. As a matter of fact, if I could do one of these, I'd be even happier. Even as a kid, if my mother, God forbid, tried to put me in a turtleneck or wrap a scarf around my neck, I would become so anxious and so terrified that I couldn't claw it off of me fast enough. When I got older, if I was dating and a guy bought me a necklace, I would thank him profusely, but I could never put it on because even having it, I'm not even talking about a choker. Oh, God, don't get me started on that. I'm talking about one of those long dangly necklaces. Even just having it around the back of my neck made me so paranoid and so terrified, and the heart would be racing. And I used to think this has to be one of the craziest things ever. When I started getting into past life regression, I saw that in several lifetimes, and I don't even think I've touched on all of them. I've touched on about roughly 10 to 12, but in a few of them, again, all different times, all different places in the world, the most, not the most recent, but the most recent as far as the neck thing would be Salem. And I was there, and I was one of these witches that was killed. And lifetime after lifetime, people were absolutely barbaric back then. Well, they still kind of are today, just they use different things. Um, they wouldn't just kill you, they would try to elicit a confession, and they would do that by means of torture. So before they killed you, they may, oh, put a hot coal in your mouth, pull off your fingernails or toenails. There was another one that when you first read it doesn't sound that bad, but if you think about it, they would force feed you the saltiest of foods and fishes and never let you have a drink. So literally you die from thirst. Then the way they might end up killing you, equally as barbaric, they would do a disemboweling, which is kind of just to reach on in while you're still alive and rip out your bowels. Another one is called quartering, where they would tie you up, hands and feet, and not in the good, fun, sexual way, because on the end of each rope would be a horse, and at the count, they would hit the horses, and you'd literally be ripped apart. I mean, this is, maybe as a society, we have come a little farther. God, I hope so. But anyway, in terms of my own experience, I was hung. I was either hung or the guillotine, which is, you put your head in there and then... and so because of that, and it was always because I was accused of being a witch, and I was. And so even to this day, even though I've seen it, I've recognized it, I know it for what it is. This is why I cannot have anything around my neck, because it just brings back too many memories. On the one hand, it's good that I know about this, but it still doesn't totally relieve my anxiety. So what do? I just don't wear anything around my neck. Problem solved. When I was asked to do this TV show, it was actually a few years ago, and I had already, the people that knew me knew that I was a witch, knew that I did mediumship, knew that I did tarot card readings. I was very out of the broom closet about that. But at the first thought of doing this TV show, oh my goodness, nerves, nerves. And the more I thought about it, I was a little concerned with the camera adding 10 pounds. I won't lie to you about that. But my bigger fear was, do I really want to be that much out there? Again, it was fear from past lives. What about the persecution? At the time, I was going through a very bad divorce, and one of my ex-husbands, and you know who you are, was actually trying to make a case against me for being a witch. And here I'm trying to explain to the judge and everybody else how, yes, I'm a witch, but that just means I practice nature-based faith and magic and moon cycles. And they weren't really having any of that. And so I thought, oh, God, now to come out and have a TV show called Angels, Fairies, and Witches. But as you could see, I got over that fear. So let's talk a little bit more about past lives. One of the good things that also carries over with you is your talents and your abilities, okay? These are the things, there are certain things that don't change lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. The one thing, and you'll find this when I take you through the regression, your eyes are always the same. That's actually the only thing that is the same. Like I said, your age changes. If I went back to a lifetime in Africa, I certainly wouldn't be looking like this, but my eyes would be the same. Sometimes your gender can change. Sometimes you've been both male and female, although I think you've been predominantly one more than the other, but, that's just my personal belief. The eyes always change, and certain talents you have. For example, one of my talents, one of the ones I can actually mention on camera, because this is a family show, is the ability to talk to the dead. Now, as I've told you, I give lectures and workshops and seminars on psychic development to teach you that you can do this as well, whereas with me, it was a natural-born gift. It's things that I've been doing lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It's like maybe some of you out there are artists or writers or musicians, and it's just a talent that you've had, a God-given gift, mind you, a talent that you've had since you were born. And somebody like me would have to take years of art classes or music lessons or dance classes to get to your level, whereas you have the natural ability. That's a past life gift. So here's what you have. It's kind of split down the center. You have the good and the bad of going back and finding out who you were in a past life. The bad stuff is you will see how you died. You will see the life you had, and it might not have been a very good one. You will see the people that have done you wrong that perhaps in this lifetime continue to do you wrong. The good side, you will see the people that even in this lifetime really have your back and love you and recognize them. You will see your self, which I think is fascinating. You will also uncover your natural talents that you've carried over lifetime after lifetime. So this is not a practice for everybody, and you do have to have a bit of an open mind, because if you think you can do it, you can do it. And if you think, oh, I can't do it, you won't. Again, if we go through this regression and nothing happens and you don't see anything, please keep practicing, okay? It absolutely will come. Okay, so I wanted to say one other thing before we get into the meditation. I'd like to comment on the mosquitoes, but I want to thank the creators of Off Spray. It's doing a wonderful job. Can you believe? And they're big as hell. I read something. I know I'm getting off the subject, but it seems timely. This year, for those of you that live in Queens, okay, well, obviously, Queens Public Television, all of you live in Queens. Although I am on YouTube also, Angels, Fairies, and Witches, nothing, on YouTube. That's as far as my technological conversation can go. Back to the mosquitoes. Particularly in Queens, as you know, this has been a really, really bad year. 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is that it was such a warm winter that they didn't die off like they usually do, and even in the winter, in the warmer days, they were still around. Second of all, it turns out there's a new breed of mosquito. I don't know how many breeds they are. I think it would all fall under the heading of incredibly annoying insects. But this year, they found this new breed, and they're calling it the tiger mosquito, because if you look at it, and you can, really, with the naked eye, because they're big enough, they're striped, I guess, like a tiger, although I think they kind of look more like a zebra. But the scientists weren't asking me when they were naming this new breed. The point about the tiger mosquito is that normally if you're just standing there or sitting here, mosquitoes will come up and try to bite you. The tiger mosquito, even if you shoo them away and you're walking back down your driveway, they will follow you. They will chase you. And I know it sounds insane, and I wish some of you, you know what I wish I could do? I wish I could creep up to the camera right now and spin it around really quick, because you got to see my producer over there. He's too manly for the off spray, so he's standing over there. It looks like he's doing one of these, Indian rain dances. And that's all right, be a man, slap, 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 slap. Yeah, so mosquitoes. I know I was talking about past life. A big one just landed on me. I thought I'd bring that up. Have there been any birds behind me? I'll tell you, I have blue jays, cardinals. The other day up in that tree was a woodpecker, which, let me say, looks exactly like Woody Woodpecker. I had never seen one before, but the big shock of red, and of course, the sparrows and the grackle, and once in a while the pigeons. Okay, so the moment is upon us. Time to go through a past life regression. First of all, I would suggest that you can either do it with us, or you can take these tips and do it at a later time. A quiet area is absolutely important. And with the garbage trucks before, this is not necessarily the quietest of areas. Although, quick shout out to New York's Strongest Sanitation Department and that super cute guy with the short blonde hair. And I didn't catch your name, but about 3 weeks ago, you helped me move my car. And I promised you Haagen-Dazs Swiss vanilla ice cream, and then I never saw you again. So either it was an angel in disguise, or if any of you out there know who he is, send him back to my house. I owe him some ice cream. Back to the regression. Okay, what you're going to do is you have to set the stage. Quiet house, perhaps some candles. You can even get into a relaxed position, maybe laying down, sitting up. It doesn't need to necessarily be a dim environment. I just like candles because I think it brings about very good energy. So you're going to start, close your eyes. Don't fall asleep on me, people, okay? You want to close your eyes, and you're going to be led through a lot of deep breathing. And I'll be honest with you, I can't do the whole thing right now because of the time constraint, but it really does get boring after a while. The idea is that you want to breathe, and you want to breathe properly, okay? Not from the lungs. You want to breathe from the diaphragm, which really doesn't feel natural, but it is. So deep in, deep out. Keep doing that. You're not thinking about the grocery list. You're not thinking about the mosquitoes flying around your head here. You're not thinking about the fight with your boss. You're not thinking about anything, okay? As you get deeper and deeper into this meditative state, okay, and again, you're going to have to spend on your own about 15 minutes of really deep breathing, really relaxing everything from your toes on up your legs, your chest, your arms, neck, ears, and head, okay? When you're that relaxed, you're going to visualize this with your eyes closed, okay? You are on an old-fashioned freight train, okay? You know, the kind that the hobos with the stick and the knapsack used to hop aboard? And you're going through a dark tunnel. I know this is sounding very sexual and very phallic, and maybe there's something to that, you know, like coming out of the birth canal. God, I'm like a genius. I bet that's exactly what it is. Okay, anyway, again, the deep breathing, you're going through this tunnel, Now, as you're going through the tunnel and your eyes are closed, you're seeing nothing. What I'm telling you is when the train comes to a stop, and you make the train come to a stop whenever you want. If you want 10 or 15 minutes more of breathing, you do that. If you want the train to stop immediately, you'll just know when it feels right. Okay, whenever it feels right, you're going to have the train doors open up, and you're going to open your eyes. Okay, got that? Train doors, screech to a stop. Okay, immediately. And don't start contradicting yourself. Look around. Where are you? I know nothing about geography or history. It's like I slept through all the years in school. But I did learn a fun drinking game, which I'll share with you perhaps the next episode. Those were the college days. Where are you? Look around. Does it look familiar? Would you say you're in Greece? Would you say you're in the Old West? Are you in a jungle? Are you in a desert? Again, don't start editing yourself, okay? Look around. Are there stores? Are there homes? Are there people? Are you seeing anybody? Okay? Again, if you see nothing, it just means it's something that you have to practice, okay? It really will come. Now, what I want you to do is step out of the train, and over there, over yonder, you see one of those big floor-length mirrors. There's two ways of doing this, okay? You could do it with the mirror or without. If you do it without the mirror, if you can't visualize the mirror, and if this is your first time, you probably can't visualize the mirror, then I'm going to instruct you, now that you're out of the train, to look down at your feet. First impression, okay? Are you wearing sandals? Are you barefooted? Do you have men's feet with those kind of hairy little toes? Do you have women's feet? Do you have child's feet? Are you white? Are you black? Are you Chinese? Are you Indian? Are you purple? That would be a new one. But nothing is unheard of. So go from the feet. And again, get these images. Do not edit yourself. What you see is what you see. You're releasing your subconscious. You're not going to get stuck there, okay? Now start to look up slowly. What kind of outfit are you wearing? What kind of attire? Are you in a long flowing gown? Are you naked? Are you in a loincloth? Are you in royalty? Excuse me, sorry. Hope I didn't lose you on that relaxing part. Are you in royal robes? Keep looking up, 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 up. Are you wearing jewelry? Is your skin burned? Is it damaged? Is it little old lady hands? And then finally, you're going to get to your face, and you're going to see that your eyes are looking back at you. Now try to take in the whole package. What does your hair look like? What does your skin look like? Are you male? Are you female? You'll recognize yourself. You'll recognize where you are if you look around. And again, the first time might be very limited. Do you see somebody and you recognize them again by the eyes that was your mother in that lifetime? But all of a sudden in this lifetime, maybe she's your horrible boss. Okay, now you can put this into your subconscious as you go into the meditation, or you can leave it out. It's up to you, okay? If you wish to view the day of your death as you're breathing, this is what you're saying. Okay, now remember, even if you had the most horrific death, like some of the things I talked about that they did in the Dark Ages, it's only like you're watching a movie, okay? You are very removed from it. You can then say, okay, bring me to the day of my death. Now again, you're just seeing. Maybe you're on a bed and maybe you're a little old lady or a little old man. Maybe you see family surrounding you, Maybe you see, I did this with somebody one time and it was unbelievable. The girl was extremely claustrophobic. And I did past life regression, and she didn't go under the first couple times because she wouldn't let herself relax. Not doubting my mad skills, of course. Anyway, by the third or fourth time, I explained to her again, got rid of all the fear. She went under, and when I told her to open her eyes, she said, "It's dark, and it smells bad, and I'm so afraid, and there's very, very little light." So I said, "Okay, breathe, breathe. You're not there anymore. Okay, that was a long time ago. Tell me what you see." What she ended up seeing was that she was in almost royal robes, but she was in a cave, and it smelled so bad. And the more details she gave me, there were others around, and some had died, but they were all dressed like royalty, and some were alive, and they were crying, and they were starving, and they were dying of thirst. This took a long time. It actually took about 3 or 4 sessions, and I kept bringing her back to that because part of her brain didn't want to fully open up to this memory. Anyway, eventually, when she finally opened up to everything, she hadn't been royalty per se, but she had been servant to royalty. So therefore, she was dressed in fine linen. And I believe this was Egypt, and that when she went back in that time, when the king or the queen, I think it was the queen actually, was dying, or died, actually. The queen died in her own bed. They took the queen, her 2 or 3 beloved servants, who were still alive, by the way, a beloved cat, all the jewels that the queen had, and sealed them up in a tomb. And this was the belief that then the queen would go on to the afterlife with all the people she loved and all the jewels she loved and the animals she loved. That's some sick stuff. But anyway, it was a practice back then. It was a very sacred practice back then. And that's why this girl was claustrophobic. That's how she died. Sealed in a tomb, but very much alive. Well, at least for a day or two. Anyway, once she looked at it, viewed it, identified with it, her claustrophobia vanished, okay? And that's not me and my magical abilities. Everyone can do this, okay? So getting back to our meditation, I know we're running a little short on time. Again, you can do this for yourself. Get yourself in a deeply meditative state. House is quiet. You can either do the train through the tunnel, like I said, or you can look in a mirror and immediately see what's there. Don't edit yourself. Whatever you see is what you see. Okay, you're opening up a part of your brain that hasn't been used, unless this is something that you have done. Now, the only cautionary word, because like I said, you won't get stuck there, and in fact, the benefits outweigh the negative, because the only negative is once you start seeing these past lives, your dreams will absolutely become more vivid. You will start to open up much more psychically to all the energies around you because, like I said, you're opening up a part of your brain that most people don't really use. Okay, again, this is nothing scary. I've lived my life doing this, and look at me. Man, I don't know if that's the best example. So I have to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you do try past life regression, and I hope you keep watching the program. So for Angels, Fairies, and Witches, this is Michele saying have a blessed evening.